Welcome to the They Dream of Infamy podcast. I am your host, Jared, and with me on this inaugural episode is my good friend, Tom.
Hey, Jared, what do you got for us today?
All right, so the concept of this show is it's a true crime podcast. What more do you need to know? All right, we're going to look at some of the lesser known and some of the bigger known monsters of history, as well as maybe we'll get into some cryptids and some other stuff along the way. But today, you and I, my friend, we are covering serial killer, sadistic, psychopathic, schizophrenic, the Italian-American, Frank Zito.
And he's a rapper.
He's not a rapper. In what way is he a rapper?
Raper. Sorry, rapist.
Off to a good start. Now, many of you have likely heard of New York serial murderers like the Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, Joel Rifkin, and Robert Schulman, to name just a few of the Big Apple's most more famous or infamous killers. However, the crimes of Frank Zito were so horrific and unspeakable, I believe the media just didn't want to talk about him. Much like the crimes of other really bizarre schizophrenic killers like Joseph Callinger or the vampire of Sacramento, Richard Chase.
Yeah, Zito's were some of the grisliest crime scenes imaginable.
Truly is. We'll get into what makes them so grisly, but it really, to me, we'll get into it, but what I really want to think about as we're going through this to thread through it is he a serial killer or is he a spree killer? We'll go through that because I have my theory on that. I think you have your own. Frank Zito was born around 1949 to an abusive alcoholic prostitute, tale as old as time, and an unknown father. Now I say around 1949 because his mother cared so little for Frank, we don't have an exact date of birth. Some say he was born as early as 1947 or as late as 1953, but let's not get hung up in the semantics. What we do know is Frank's childhood was the perfect recipe to create a psychopathic serial murderer. To me, his childhood really mirrors that of Gary Ridgway.
Gary Ridgway.
Yeah, Gary Ridgway had one of the most abusive childhoods I've ever heard of. He had like one eye because he got like a ruler stuck in it by a teacher.
Oh, man.
His mom abused him and his father, like his no-legged father, by the way, who was in a wheelchair. She would like lock his wheelchair and make him watch her have sex with her Johns.
What?
Yeah, that's Gary Ridgway's mom. We don't know a whole lot about Frank Zito's mom. Unfortunately, Frank, unlike many serial killers, we just don't know a lot about his childhood, which, again, this is one of the more mysterious serial killers we have, which I think adds to the lack of story for many. But for me, I just wanted to learn more about Frank Zito.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, though, from eyewitness testimony from Frank's formative years, we know he often went to school in dirty and torn clothes with bruises all over his body, and even sometimes with two black eyes. Before we get too far along, let's acknowledge our source for today, the book Maniac by C.A. Rosenberg. This is a great read. For those who don't mind a good graphic murder story with some added atmosphere by the author, Maniac is a fantastic book. But Rosenberg does take some creative license with the story by adding in personal moments with Frank that likely didn't happen. Still, though, he gets the facts of the case and the murder spot on. Highly recommend this book.
Hey, Zito, want to grab a beer and a whore?
Is that your attempt at a New York accent? Hey, man, I guess so. You want to go get a beer?
Yeah.
What psychologists say, and I heard this on the documentary Crazy Not Insane, is that not everyone with a rough childhood will become a killer. That's obvious. Not all psychopaths even become killers. Hey, many of them become CEOs or presidents. Huh? Nailed that one. Got him nailed to the wall. However, when you combine psychopathy, or as it's known today in a more friendly way, known for children, behavioral defiance disorder. I'm sorry, behavioral defiance disorder sounds way more friendly than psychopath. So good for kids these days. Like,
sure.
Could you imagine being 8 and you were diagnosed with psychopathy or behavioral defiance disorder?
You just think of a kid in a straitjacket.
For the psychopath, yeah.
Yeah.
For behavioral defiance disorder, I just see like a little shit.
Yeah. Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, the total psychopath. That kid went on to like kill people. With an abusive upbringing, you basically create a ticking time bomb with these behavioral defiance disorder kids. Frank Zito was that time bomb waiting to go off in 1979 in New York City. The wrong guy at the wrong time in the wrong city.
He's a walking shack.
It is true. You said that off air, and he reminded you of Jaws on land. And the more I hadn't thought of that until you said it. I'm like, oh yeah, he kind of is the blood-soaked, just madman. Frank's childhood was rough, and by all accounts, he was an extremely poor student. Not that he had much of a chance given his background. He was bullied at school and at home. In his teens, he suffered an injury that was so horrific it would scar him for the rest of his miserable life.
What happened? Brain damage? Or did his dad give him the old pile driver?
Again, he didn't know his dad.
True.
So, not possible,
Touché.
but maybe as a baby. Maybe he did.
Oh.
Frank's torso was covered in burn scars, so there goes that theory.
Oh.
And we don't know what happened. Author C.A. Rosenberg could not find out what happened to Frank. It's one of those things that I said earlier, it just adds to the mystery around Frank. What we do know is Frank's abusive, alcoholic, prostitute mother died in a car accident, leaving Frank an orphan around the age of 10.
Shit.
Yeah. While this means his abuser was gone, it also isolated Frank even further from the world during his formative years. Now, what we know about abuse victims is this. They want to please their abuser so the abuse stops. But if you just kill their abuser outright, it actually leaves them with a void that they cannot recover from.
Oh, wow.
Or quite often can't, and certainly can't without psychological treatment. Frank was all alone in this world at just 10 years old. He would
I
be
just discovered my dick at 10 years old.
So I guess you're never alone, are you? when you're just a little boy. He would be shuffled from foster home to foster home, being abused at every single stop along the way. I'm going to say it, Tom. This is the part of every story, it seems like, that I go with true crime that makes you sympathize with the monster here. Like, you feel bad for him. Like, you feel bad for Gary Ridgway or Frank Zito. I mean, think about it. Frank, at 10, is now missing the one who was like, Frank, get inside! Wham, 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 wham. Just taking all of her abuse, all of her everything out on this poor little boy. And now even that's gone. And now you're just being shuffled, probably sexually abused. I hate to say it, but that's the foster care system, especially in the 1950s and 60s. By the time he was in his late teens, Frank had dropped out of school, worked odd jobs around New York City, Queens specifically, and in 1972 attempted to join the military. Now, Tom, I say attempted because even with the Vietnam War raging on and an active draft going on, meaning they needed people, he was denied entry into the Army due to his low test score and horrific psych evaluation.
Damn. I thought they let everyone in.
Meaning even a crazy killer like Charles Ng was more sane than Frank.
What the hell?
Or even, what was that, Richard Ramirez's crazy uncle?
Yeah.
The guy who taught Richard Ramirez how to kill people.
Oh, I can't
he was also in
remember his
Vietnam, yeah.
Okay.
Now, let's go into what New York City was like in the 1970s and early 1980s, pretty much through the 1990s, but its peak was really this era. This is the era of rolling blackouts, murders, and mayhem. The police in New York were so understaffed that in 1977, there were less than 20 officers per 10,000 people. To put that in perspective, right now there's more than double that at 47 per 10,000. And New York is one of the safest large metropolitan areas in the world.
Wow.
This is the vigilante era of New York, where citizens were literally asked to police each other. This is when the guardian angels were a thing in New York. Dude, you and I would have been so pumped. Imagine us in our 20s just walking around like billy clubs, like roughing up teens. This is when in 1979, when it's believed Frank started his killing spree, his first murder was just one of 1,700 in New York, a record number of homicides for that time, although they would surpass it the very next year.
Wow. If you want to put yourself in the time frame, Joker's a good movie for that.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
So is Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver is a good one, too.
Okay.
Yep. Or The Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah. I like to picture, like, Frank Zito passing the Warriors on the street, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Even they're, like, taken aback. I say all that to let you know New York was the perfect place for a roaming marauder murderer like Frank. Naturally, Frank's targets for murder were mostly women. He's what FBI profile and author of Mindhunter John E. Douglas calls a replacement killer. These women are all stand-ins for the woman he'd love to have killed, his mother. Much like the co-ed killer Ed Kemper, although old Ed did eventually get to kill his mother, then confessed immediately to everything, something Frank just wouldn't do. And we'll get to that in a little bit.
Hello, police. I know you're not going to believe me, but I did it. I killed my mom and stuff.
Ed, are you drunk?
I did it.
You did what, Ed?
I killed my mother.
No, you didn't. Seriously, he had to argue with them to get them to actually show up and arrest him because he was friends with the cops. Not the case with Frank Zito. The first murder we can definitely tie to Frank is a prostitute named Rita. Frank at this time is a landlord at a real piece of shit apartment complex, even by 1979 New York City standards. On the night he killed Rita, he was seen leaving the apartment in a hurry, and one eyewitness said he was trying to look conspicuous.
Oh, yeah?
Which, as you can imagine, is probably difficult for a giant, fat Italian landlord. Frank was over 6 feet, over 250 pounds. Well, how can you come off as inconspicuous? And why is he leaving inconspicuously? There's like 5 people live in the entire apartment building. They all know what Frank looks like.
Yeah. Frank, is that you?
No, man, leave me alone. Shut up. Get back in your apartment. That's my Frank. I know it's not what Frank sounds like. I like to make this giant of a man sound like, I don't know, like a New York Pee Wee Gaskins or something. Now, we don't know if he left looking to kill or if there was a trigger that set him off. What we do know is Rita was at her spot outside the Roundabout Hotel, a real dive of a place just off of Times Square. So again, let's picture this. Picture Times Square now, Tom, in your head.
Hey, sweetie, you trying to get off?
Is that your prostitute voice?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want you to take a moment to think about it. Think about New York City now, Times Square. Yeah. You got Spider-Man, you got all these billboards and flashing lights, and it's like the safest place. Back in 1979, if you took one turn off of that, there was hookers everywhere.
Oh, really?
Hookers, homeless people, murderers, robbers. The kind of place, this is the kind of place that charges rooms by the hour, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I only need 20 minutes.
You just tell on yourself like that right here on the podcast? I could totally see you doing that though, arguing with the front desk guy. That'd be 1 hour.
No, 20. I just need 20.
I don't care. You get 1 hour.
God damn it.
Rita invited Frank in, and it would be the last mistake she ever made. Frank is what we call a product killer. What that means is Frank wants total control over the scene, but for the most part, the kill isn't the thrill. Instead, for him, the thrill is actually post-murder, when he could play with the product, in this case, the body. Frank strangles Rita so violently he broke her windpipe, and her eyes nearly popped out of her head. When he was done strangling her, he scalped her and left her body to be found by the hotel maid. Now, I want you to picture 1979 hotel maid. You got...
That poor maid.
Excuse me, can I come in? I hope you're not actively sucking dick. Oh, Lord, another murder. The scalping, to me, means this was premeditated murder. He planned on doing this.
Yeah.
He thought about the trophy he wanted to take with him.
It's just a matter of who.
Exactly. Rita was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Frank then took his grisly trophy back to his apartment and attached the scalp to a mannequin. Oh, Tom, did I forget to mention this crazy giant fat psychopath has a fucking mannequin collection?
Couldn't mention it earlier? Yo, is he fucking the mannequins?
Again, I don't know.
How fucking many are there?
A lot. There are a lot of mannequins, and we'll get into that.
Hey, I bet how many mannequins he has is how many victims he's gonna get.
Probably what he dreams of, yeah. Like, all right, so if I have 7 mannequins, I got 7 victims, and then I'll stop cold turkey. I'll stop cold turkey, I promise. I swear to God, if I just get my 7. Well, Frank's next victim would come just days later. This one, we know for a fact, was premeditated by Frank. He left his apartment once again in an inconspicuous outfit, but this time, he didn't just bring a knife. He also brought with him a double-barrel shotgun. How do you hide a double-barrel shotgun? Hey,
just toting this thing around?
Hey, Frank, you got a gun on you? Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Get back. Stop being such a nosy little shit. You know that? Changing up his MO makes Frank unique in the serial killer world. Much like Richard Ramirez, the murder weapon and method didn't seem to matter to Frank.
This guy's just out for blood, gallons of the stuff, and hair.
Are you trying to?
Mom must have had phenomenal hair.
They all did have wonderful hair. Yes, you're right. Frank went out driving that night looking for targets. Like Ramirez and unlike most product killers, Frank would pick 2 targets. A pair of disco goers named Tom and Hyla. By the way, that's right, the soundtrack to this is Staying Alive, Staying Alive. Not for them, no.
Nope.
No, not for them. Frank followed them until they stopped their vehicle near the Verrazano Bridge. When the couple started to do what young couples have always done, wink, wink, it means they were fucking.
Yeah.
Or actively trying to. Because they were just at a disco. You're all horned up, you know? This guy's got like the best 70s porn stash.
Yeah.
Black as night, hair slicked back. She's got the big hair. She just came from the disco. She's like, tonight's the night. I'm going to finally close it. I'm going to finally close it. Why am I giving her that voice? He's like, I'm going to finally close that deal with her. Tonight's the night. I'm going to do it. Tommy's going to get something tonight. No. Frank struck quickly, like a shark. See what it did? Yeah. Blasting a massive hole through the couple's windshield, blowing Tom's head clear off of his body.
Go! That's fucking gnarly.
It is kind of a... Then Frank turned his attention to Hyla and shot her as well. This time he was careful not to shoot the head off. Hey, you gotta be careful, you know? I got prizes. I gotta get at it. Frank then enters the blood-soaked scene and scalps her, just like he did Rita. So, like, you know, do you think he would have taken Tom's scalp? Or do you think it was just because he blasted the head off, he couldn't?
You think he was pissed at himself after?
I don't know, because I feel like he only wants the women's hair. Like, there had to be a reason he just shot the dude's head off and then made sure to only shoot her in the chest.
Yeah.
The police found the grisly scene, but despite this now being 2 scalped women in under a week's time, the overworked NYPD failed to connect the 2 murders right away. Frank's body count was now at least 3.
Wait, was this was within a week?
Yeah, this is just a couple days later. This entire story happens in one total week.
Holy shit.
Frank then calmly took his second trophy home and attached it to another mannequin. The smell in his apartment was already drawing the attention of neighbors, but who do you complain to when it's the landlord causing the issue?
Hey, Mr. Zeta.
Hey, what do you need? What?
Your apartment, it
What?
got
It what?
odors
It
thing.
what?
It's got this odors thing.
Everything's got odors. It's New York City. We're off the... What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm cooking ziti in here.
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm cooking sausages. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Never mind.
I'll evict you. Frank then calmly took his Frank's next victim comes the very next day, which almost makes me think Frank has killed more than just these few we've mentioned. This is full-on berserker mode he's entered. This is where I kind of want to know, like, do you think he's a spree killer and he just kind of snapped like he's Richard Chase? Or do you think he's killed before and but was able to cool off and then but this is his berserker mode, like Ted Bundy going into the Cal Omega house in Florida State?
I feel like the first one.
I feel like he's a spree killer too.
Yeah.
He seems too detached.
Yeah.
Frank spots his next victim. Another victim that looks very much like the first 2 females and coincidentally looked just like his mother. This victim was a nurse named Kelly. He spotted her leaving work at the Roosevelt Hotel, where she had spent the day helping deliver babies. Aww.
Roosevelt Hospital.
What'd I say?
Hotel.
Oh, my bad. Thank you. Good catch. The dichotomy here of a woman who spent all day bringing life into this world and being taken from it is truly disgusting.
I'm nauseous.
Frank stalked. This is where you get the view of Jaws again.
Yeah.
Frank stalked Kelly all the way from work at the subway station. Dun-dun. Yeah, you do that. You give me that.
Dun-dun.
There in the station, late at night, Frank struck out and attacked Kelly.
Holy shit.
The large Frank easily overpowered Kelly. Kelly's just so tiny. She was like 5'2", 115 pounds. A nurse who had just been working all day. Keep in mind, Frank is over 6 feet and well over 250 pounds. The tiny Kelly stood no chance. Mm-hmm. Again, happening in the subway station. Frank stabbed her in the heart with a bayonet. Once again, Frank used a different method of murder and once again showed premeditation by using a bayonet over the knife he had used to scalp his victim. He then once again took the trophy, Kelly's scalp, and left the subway station without anyone batting an eye.
Hey, Frank, what's in your hand?
Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about a thing. Hey, I just picture this at the subway. Hey, you killing somebody over there? Hey, don't worry about it. Don't you worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, but I gotta kill a broad over there too in like 2 minutes. Could you hurry this along? We all got people to kill in here. It's after midnight on the subway station, New York City. We all got murders to do. Let's hurry this along. I'll be quick. I just gotta scalp. This is scalp number 3 on a mannequin number 3. Imagine the scene in his tiny apartment. Blood-soaked clothes, because he wasn't washing his clothes. By the way, he's got to be running out of inconspicuous clothes here. Mannequins wearing women's clothes and real human scalps. This is a man deeply broken from reality, living out his darkest fantasies, very much like a Jeffrey Dahmer. And also, Rosenberg takes the opportunity in his book to kind of say he was having conversations with the mannequins, much like he's talking to his mother. He's obviously adding atmosphere here, but that's like Ed Gein shit.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, speaking of Dahmer, I'd go for some chocolate right now.
You know, I've always wanted some of that chocolate. Yeah.
Anyone got Dahmer era ambrosia? Fucking have at it. Let's have it.
During this crazed, blood-soaked time of murder and mayhem, Frank actually made a female friend.
Oh, would you look at that? The impossible happened.
At last. Anna, a photographer who lived in Manhattan, had struck up a conversation with the crazy Frank the day just hours before he killed Kelly. Anna even invited Frank to see her at her art studio where he met her friend, Rita. Talk about synchronicity, another Rita.
God damn it, she's dead already.
I do like that there's like two options here. Mm-hmm. One, Anna's just like, no radar for dangerous dudes. Or two, she saw Frank and thought, I bet he might buy some art, so she started flirting with him. Oh. It's got to be one of the two. Anna, Rita, and Frank reportedly had a nice afternoon together. No. I don't know who's reporting that they had a nice afternoon. You don't have a nice afternoon with Frank Zito.
The whole thing's just, yeah.
You know, he's probably asking weird questions like, what do you think about hair? Do you take good hair? You take good care of it.
Well, what do you do with your hair?
Do you shampoo and conditioner, sweetie?
How often?
You probably should tonight. Huh? I'd really appreciate that. Oh, Frank, you're so funny. Anna testified that nothing seemed off about Frank's behavior and that Rita had also taken a liking to him. That night, however, disaster came knocking on Rita's door. Literally. Frank had found her. And under the guise of returning her necklace, she let Frank into her apartment.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she had left her necklace at where they were at the art studio, and Frank noticed that, or he stole it, and then was like, I'm gonna go find this bitch and kill her. I'm gonna go find her and murder her. Frank, now this shows a true further break from reality, attacks Rita the moment the doors open. Here he is attacking someone he knows, but more importantly, can be linked to him. This isn't a total stranger like the other 4 victims. Frank ties Rita to the bed and painstakingly cuts her over and over with a new murder weapon, a switchblade. I'm thinking here, Frank is starting to enjoy the killing part, which would move him into the rare category of both a product and a process killer. Then he once again collects his trophy, a second Rita scalp. 2 for 1? Sorry, I had to do that one. I don't know why. Making it 5 brutal murders and 4 scalps.
He fucking butchered her.
He really did. This is probably the most gruesome of the crime scenes that are in this entire story. Like, I guess getting your head blown off by a shotgun's pretty gruesome.
Pretty.
But I think finding a girl in her bed tied there and just cut over and over with a switchblade is fucked up. Because a switchblade isn't it's not, you're not able to really stab in. So it's little cuts. It's a bunch of little slashes. And that's so much more, takes so much longer for someone to bleed out that way. Frank then, of course, goes back to his dark, smelly apartment and attaches the scalp to another mannequin. His apartment now has several mannequins, with 4 of them holding the scalps of 4 beautiful women, all stand-ins for his mother.
I can't,
Frank, this place smells terrible. Shut up, Mama. Please.
Is he fucking these mannequins, though?
Second time you've asked that. I don't know.
I can't stop picturing him.
I don't know that there's a hole.
That.
I don't think there's a hole on a mannequin to do that with.
There's holes in these mannequins.
With that withstanding, I honestly can't answer that for you, Tom. The writer of the book, Rosenberg, did not answer that in the book.
Okay.
Okay, it's not in there. All right? In your own little twisted world here, he fucked the mannequin. Okay, can we move on? The next day, Frank invites Anna to go for a walk with him. Anna, not having any idea this man had killed her friend, agreed. Things turned real weird real fast, however, when she realizes Frank's taking her to a cemetery.
Hey, Frank, where are you taking me?
Don't worry about it, baby. We're going someplace real special to be.
It's getting dark in here.
In here? We're outside.
Out here.
Sorry. So, I'm not saying that for like if you're dating a goth chick, you know, and you finally get with that goth girl, taking her to a cemetery, awesome first date. Like you two are gonna have some fun. But it takes a very specific type of girl to take to a cemetery on a first date.
Yeah.
Anna was not that girl.
No.
No. There, Frank shows her his mother's tombstone. Another red flag, big red flag number 2. After laying flowers by the headstone, Anna says Frank started to weep and talk about his first victim. Red flag number 3.
Yeah. Running out of flags.
As she tried to pull away from Frank, Frank, wide-eyed and completely detached from reality, attacks Anna. Again, I must stress, Frank is a huge man, and Anna, just like all of his other victims, was a small woman. Lucky for her, though, She's also a fierce woman. Anna somehow broke free from Frank and attempted to flee the cemetery. Frank, the giant sweaty killer, followed her. Anna was lucky enough to stumble across a shovel left behind by a careless gravedigger. Love careless gravediggers. I feel like all gravediggers are careless gravediggers.
Yeah.
Probably drunk.
Hey, where's that shovel?
Oh man, I hope I didn't lose this shovel again. Oh no, I'm gonna lose my job at this all important grave digging job. It's New York City. There's so many graves to dig. She struck Frank as hard as she could. Frank was stunned and unable to pursue Anna, who was able to get away from Frank, unlike so many others before her. That's a badass.
One that got away.
That's a badass chick.
Yeah.
Just fucking wails on this dude like this shark of a man, over and over with a shovel.
Yeah.
Right, like one time, but in my head she's like, ah!
Yeah.
Frank, injured and realizing, oh no. Someone who knows who I am is free to tell the world what a dangerous psychopath I am. Frank goes home to his dirty, smelly, dank apartment and kills himself. The next day, 2 officers found the grisly apartment scene. Frank in bed, dead by his own hand, along with several mannequins with human scalps, as well as all the other murder weapons still covered in the victim's blood. These 2 officers walked into what one described as the most disgusting, disturbing thing I'd ever seen. Could you imagine being these cops?
No. They've
just
always seen death.
Well, not just that, but like there's nothing that prepared them for this moment. This is like walking in to Dahmer's apartment. Quick question. Which one you want to go into? Which one? You're a cop. Got to go to Dahmer's apartment or Zito's apartment? Go.
Zito.
Yeah, Zito.
Yeah.
It's the dicks, right? It's the dicks in the fridge to throw you off from Dahmer.
Yeah.
Like, I just pictured them opening the door like, hey, there's no big deal. Oh, shit! Oh! Immediately, just the rookie's just puking. The grizzled vet's even like, what? And just slowly close that door. We're going to pretend that didn't happen. We're going to get real detectives on this one. The only thing left behind by Frank was a note written days before his suicide. So it's not a suicide note. The note read,
Now you tell me what I should do. I heard about it. I always do. I can't go out for a minute. It's impossible. Fancy girls in their fancy dresses and lipsticks laughing and dancing. Should you stop them? I can't stop them, but you do, don't you? They can't laugh and they can't dance no more. You've got to stop or they'll take you away from me. I will never, ever, ever, ever let them take you away from me. You're mine now forever, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, who's he talking to?
I have no idea. I feel like this is a schizophrenic who's watching a life that he's not playing an active role in. Like sometimes it happens with schizophrenic patients that they have such a break from their own reality, they kind of watch their own life play out like a cutscene in a video game. Like they have no control over it. They just watch it happen and they're disassociated from it. And I feel like that's what that is. Like he's somehow mending the two and trying to come to terms with what he's doing. So I feel like that's a letter to himself. So there it is. The story of the New York Maniac, Frank Zito. The body count was at least 5, but the legacy of Frank is that crazy scene in his apartment that really lets you into the crazed, detached from reality mind of a schizophrenic serial murderer.
That's Frank Zito, ladies and gents, and his blood-soaked erotic hairiness.
Whew. The man was into hair more than anybody has been into anything.
Yeah.
like he's into hair. Like
really into it.
Who was the guy who did Baby Got Back? Sir Mix-a-Lot. He was into hair like Sir Mix-a-Lot was into booty. Not that I'm saying Sir Mix-a-Lot cut ass off and took it home with him after he murdered his victims. I'm not saying that about Sir Mix-a-Lot. I'm saying, where are the bodies, Sir Mix-a-Lot? Again, if you want some great true crime writing, read Maniac by C.A. Rosenberg. He takes some liberties, like I said, with the story and draws more of a picture of the psyche of Frank, but the actual facts of the case are all there. There's also a 2012 movie called Maniac starring Elijah Wood based off this book, and I know you've seen it.
It's worth a watch if you can get past him not looking like Zito.
Yeah, he just doesn't look anything like Frank Zito.
No.
Nothing like him. Like Elijah Wood's not 6'2", 250 plus pounds.
Mm.
If you want to get a good picture in your head of Frank Zito, you either Google it or think of the. Remember the gangster from the Rocky movie, the one who pays Rocky to rough people up for him.
Yeah.
He looks like that guy, like a little bit. He's like that, Well, there you have it. The first episode of our podcast, Daydream of Infamy. I'm Jared. That's Tom. Sometimes truth is trulier, scarier than fiction.